Hello students, a warm welcome to the online mode for BA Part 2nd, Paper 1st, English, that is Poetry and Drama. I, Dr. Sunita Jakhar, will conduct this session. Ode to Autumn was written by John Keats in the year 1819. Let's come to some facts about Keats. John Keats, an English romantic poet, was born in the year 1795, died in 1821. His writing career lasted a little more than 5 years, and three of his great odes are Ode to a Nightingale, Ode on a Grecian Urn, Ode on Melancholy. While discussing the overall structure, I have covered brief 4 points. As you all know that this poem is an ode. So point number 1 is on ode. Ode is an elaborately structured poem praising or glorifying an event or individual, describing nature intellectually as well as emotionally. Now, point number 2. The poem is written in 3 stanzas of 11 lines each. Each stanza begins with 4 lines that introduces the topic of the stanza. The next 7 lines expand on the topic. In total, the poem has 33 lines. Third point relates to the rhyme scheme, and the rhyme scheme follows a pattern of starting each stanza with an ABAB pattern, which is followed by rhyme scheme of CDE, DCCE in the first verse and CDE, CDDE in the second and third stanzas. Now, in the fourth point, I have covered the major literary devices used by Keats in the Ode to Autumn. And the major two literary devices are imagery and personification. Imagery is language used by poets, novelists, and other writers to create images in the mind of the readers. The Ode to Autumn is full of the feelings of nature's generosity. The imagery stresses the astonishing variety of nature, the profusion of crops, the flowers, the clouds, the lamps, the whistling robin, even the cloud of gnats. Personification is used to allow non human things to take on human traits and emotions. For instance, in the second stanza of the poem, the inanimation of autumn becomes more explicit. Autumn is characterized as if it were a person with human like adjectives and nouns. Now, the theme of the poem Ode to Autumn. Main theme of the poem is that change is both natural and beautiful. The tone used by the poet is celebratory and relishes autumn's richness. The fact that Keats was aware of the fragility of life is due to the fact that a year before Keats wrote this poem, his brother Tom died. So the poem also reflects the transitory nature of life. Now let's come to the poem and let's analyze the 3 stanzas one by one. First, I'll read the first stanza comprising of 11 lines and then I shall analyze it. Season of mists and mellow fruitfulness, close bosom friend of the maturing sun, conspiring with him how to load and bless with fruit that winds that round the thatched leaves run. To bend with apples the mossed cottage trees, and fill all fruit with ripeness to the core. To swell the gourd and plump the hazel shells with a sweet kernel. To set budding more and still more. Later flowers for the bees, until they think warm days will never cease, for summer has overbrimmed the clammy cells. Now, the first stanza of the poem describes the mellow fruitfulness of the season. Fruit is mentioned several times, and as the cells of the honeybees have been overbrimmed, the stanza itself is brimming with the words indicating plenitude and ripeness. Trees bend with the weight of the apples. Now, let's come to the second stanza. Who hath not seen thee oft amid thy store? Sometimes, whoever seeks abroad may find thee sitting careless on the granary floor. Thy soft hair lifted by the winnowing wind, or on a half-reaped furrow sound asleep, drowsed with the fume of poppies, while thy hook spares the next swath, and all its twined flowers, and sometimes like a gleaner, thou dost keep steady thy laden head across a brook. Or by a side depress, with patient look thou watchest the last oozings hour by hour. The second stanza describes autumn in its various forms, first as harvester and then as tired reaper and gleaner. Now let's come to the third stanza. Where are the songs of spring? Aye, where are they? Think not of them. Thou hast thy music too, while barred clouds bloom the soft dying day, and touch the stubble plains with rosy hue. Then, in a wailful choir, the small gnats moan among the river sallows borne aloft, or sinking as the light wind lives or dies, and full blown grown lambs loud bleat from hilly bone. Hedge crickets sing, and now with treble soft, the red breast whistles from the garden croft, and gathering swallows twitter in the skies. In the third stanza, the speaker notes that the music of spring is a distant memory, but the autumn's music is pretty cool too. The music includes images of clouds and harvested fields at sunset, gnats flying around a river, lambs bleating, crickets singing, birds whistling and twittering. Now, the left slide shows an image related to the line number 4, that is, the vines that round the thatch eaves run. Now, these images in the next two more slides will explain the word meaning. And on the right side, there is a picture of moss. It refers to the fifth line, that is, I quote, to bend with apples the mossed cottage tree, unquote. Now, again, there are two images, and on the left side, there is a picture of poppy flowers. Read line number 17, that is, I quote, drowsed with the fumes of poppies, unquote. Poppy flower is the source of narcotic drug opium. And on the right side is a picture of a brook referring to line number 20. I quote, steady thy laden head across a brook, unquote. Brook means a small flow of water. Now slide number 11. And on the left side is a picture of a stubble farm. Read line number 26, that is, I quote, and touch the stubble plains with rosy hue, unquote. Stubble in harvesting is the short parts of corn, wheat, etc. that are left standing after the rest has been cut. And on the right side is the bird redbreast. As the name suggests, this bird has reddish color on chest. Let's read line number 32, quote, the redbreast whistles from a garden croft, unquote. Now, I end the lecture with a beautiful picture of autumn, also known as the fall season. In India, this starts from the month of September and lasts till November. The climate is pleasant. Dear students, with this, I leave you to the thoughts of autumn. Thank you for staying with me.